Number 10. Enchantress. Enchantress is considered to be one of the greatest magic users in Asgard. She is a villainous woman who often plots against Thor Odinson, although sometimes plots against him because she maybe has a huge crush on him. In fact, there are multiple realities where Moira and Thor actually end up together, even having children in some realities, and in many of these alternate worlds, the villain and hero actually make a pretty good pairing. Enchantress is not just a gifted and skilled magic user who can use her powers to do all sorts of things, but she is also a fairly formidable physical opponent as well, as she is also of Asgard. Number 9. Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch is obviously one of my all-time favorite heroes and characters in the Marvel Universe. I love Wanda. Wanda Maximoff in the comics was originally a villain belonging to the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, but would later end up joining the Avengers. And she was never really too happy about being part of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Both her and her brother Quicksilver mainly seemed to stay because they felt they owed Magneto, the Master of Magnetism and leader of the group, their lives. He had seemingly saved them both, and so they were basically indebted to him. Eventually, they would learn that Magneto was also their father, but then, later on, Wanda would learn that although Quicksilver was indeed her brother, Magneto was actually not their father at all. It had apparently all been a trick of the High Evolutionary's doing. Still, many of Wanda's most astounding feats are tied to this fake family, with her even at one point warping reality and giving her father the perfect family life, allowing him to become the ruler of a mutant civilization during House of M.
Number 8. Peni Parker. You might recognize her from the Spider-Verse film, but Peni actually made her debut in 2014 in Marvel's Edge of the Spider-Verse number 5. When she was 9 years old, her father died, the original pilot of the 900-pound spider suit. She learns from her Uncle Ben and Aunt May that she's the only one who can take his place, and allows herself to be bitten by the radioactive spider that powers half of the suit's CPU. 5 years later, Mysterio begins infecting the people of New York with a hallucinogenic gas, and it's Peni who shows up and dispatches him, later working alongside Daredevil. She also later joins the Spider Army, recruited by Peter Porker and Old Man Spider on a subway ride home. Peni is Japanese and a vegetarian. Her superpowered suit pays homage to classic mecha anime, and some of her classmates' names are actually references to popular shows. Number 7. Spider-Woman. First appearing in Marvel's Spotlight number 32 in 1977, Jessica Drew grew up in a small cottage with her father, Jonathan Drew. John found uranium in large amounts on the property and went on to build a research facility, performing controversial studies in genetics and cell regeneration. Eventually, little Jessica becomes poisoned from the constant uranium exposure, and John injects her with an untested serum made with the blood of several uncommon species of spiders, and you'll never guess what kind of powers she gets. He seals her in a genetic accelerator while she undergoes a transformation, and she stays in stasis for decades, her aging greatly slowed. Now, as a fully grown woman with hardly any life experience, she wastes no time getting into trouble. Her first romance ends in tragedy when she accidentally kills her boyfriend, and later is manipulated by Mentalo into joining Hydra. Hoping to mold her into an assassin, sends her off to assassinate Nick Fury. She refuses and fights back against her masters, eventually escaping and starting a new life as a friendly neighborhood bounty hunter, Spider-Woman. She later finds herself dubbed the Dark Angel of San Francisco, swinging around the city and solving crimes just like the real Spidey. Number 6. Spider-Gwen. Raised by George Stacy alone after her mother died, her free spirit and creativity often clashed with her father's rigid attitude. She became friends with Peter Parker and formed a band with her classmates known as the Mary Janes. After being bitten by a genetically engineered spider, she gained spider powers and became known as Spider-Woman. Peter Parker, desperate to be like his idol Spider-Woman, conducts an experiment on himself that turns him into a monstrous lizard-like beast, and Gwen winds up beating the snot out of him, resulting in his death. This leaves her branded a criminal by the city, and the guilt of Peter's death hangs heavy over her head. She doubles her efforts to fight crime, eventually having her identity uncovered by her father. At one point, she travels to another universe and meets a version of Peter Parker that became the Goblin, overwhelmed by rage at not being able to save his universe's version of Gwen Stacy. She attempts to recruit him into the Spider Army, but he refuses. Later, when she reveals that she's actually an alternate Gwen Stacy, he sacrifices himself to save her like he wishes he could have in his own dimension. Number 5. Silk. First appearing in Amazing Spider-Man Volume 3 in 2014, Cindy Moon was born with an eidetic memory. At a scientific demonstration, the radioactive spider that gave Peter Parker his powers also bit her in the ankle. The first use of her powers was actually when she got home and accidentally webbed up her parents. She is then taken away by Ezekiel Sims, who locks her away to protect her from Morlun, the devourer of totems. He's on an interdimensional mission to basically kill every single version of Spider-Man. Good luck, am I right? So yeah, she's locked away in this tower with a whole bunch of books and tapes and stuff, and she stays there willingly to keep herself safe. Spider-Man finds out about this at some point, and he comes along to rescue her. She improvises a sweet costume made of webs, and the two immediately begin an intimate relationship. You can only imagine what a mess that would make. They make a pretty good team though, and later go up against Elektra together. She once even saved Spider-Man from being unmasked by the Black Cat on live television. Number 4. Peni Parker. May is the daughter of Mary Jane and Peter in a future alternate universe. She first appeared in What If Volume 2, number 105. When Peter Parker loses a leg in an intense battle against Green Goblin, Spidey decides to focus more on being a father and decides to keep his past from his daughter. Unfortunately, she develops her own spider powers similar to his at the age of 15. She has a few adventures of her own before her parents discover her dual identity, but Pete and Mary Jane are supportive of her crime-fighting passion. She later goes on to help S.H.I.E.L.D. battle against Carnage, and once encounters a clone of herself. She later assists the Web Warriors and the Superior Spider Army. Number 3. Spider-Bitch. First appearing in Wolverine Volume 3, number 67 in 2008, she is technically Peter Parker's granddaughter, with her parents being Hawkeye and Tanya Parker. She's super badass, and I love her costume. She is from a future alternate reality where Kingpin rules over Hammer Falls, a future version of Las Vegas. She gathers up a team of heroes and attempts to take control of the area, but ends up being captured by Kingpin and set to be executed. Her father, Hawkeye, helps her to break free and is shocked when she ends up killing Kingpin in her rage and then attempts to kill Papa Hawkeye as well. She eventually embraces her legacy and becomes Spider-Girl, later recruited by Superior Spider-Man into the Spider Army. She ultimately survives in the end and returns to her home dimension. Number 2. Lady Spider. Appearing in Spider-Verse number 1 in 2014, May Riley's father kept numerous animals in his study, including a spider. One day, May opened up the cage, believing the spider to be upset about being held captive, and she got bit. It was actually just a normal spider. Later on in life, her father dies and she builds a super suit with mechanical arms and mechanical web shooters, becoming the Lady Spider. She has 3 university degrees and is the only female student in her field. She first used her suit to rescue the mayor from Elektra, and when the 6 men of the Sinistry arrive, led by Green Goblin, she holds them off, forcing them to retreat. And now number 1. Spider-Man. In Marvel's What If number 23, released in 1980, we meet the amazing Spider-Man, also known as Aunt May. When her nephew Peter Parker forgets his lunch at home, a concerned May Parker rushes off to a science demonstration to make sure he gets it. He's a growing boy. There, she is bitten by a radioactive spider, which gave her spider powers. I'm serious. May first uses her power to earn some money for her family doing stunts, but later defeats the villain Leapfrog and becomes a real crime fighter. When the Master Weaver Karn shows up in her universe on his relentless hunt to kill anyone who possesses spider powers, she heroically surrenders herself to save her family. Also known as Spider Lady, or sometimes just Granny, May is later recruited into the Spider Army during the Spider-Geddon event to battle against the Inheritors on the Marvel Prime universe. In the end, the evil Inheritors are defeated by transferring their consciousness into infant human babies, which May actually adopts and takes back to her universe. Truly your friendly neighborhood aunt.
Number 10. Hawkgirl. Hawkgirl is a hero who is known for belonging to part of the elite superhero team, the Justice League. She is actually the reincarnation of Shra, who was punished for helping to save Qatar the Deathbringer, despite his misdeeds. As punishment, Shra could never permanently die, and instead would be reincarnated into a new life, keeping with her all the memories of her previous lives, which gives her a lot of experience to use and means that she is extremely wise when it comes to tactics, fighting, and even approaches to science and advancement. Qatar the Deathbringer was also cursed to be reincarnated and is known as Hawkgirl's partner, Hawkman, in his current incarnation. Hawkgirl also has wings, can fly, and I believe currently her wings are also infused with nth metal still? I think that's still a thing. Aside from that, Kendra Saunders is also super strong, durable, and has a reasonably potent healing factor. Always helpful to heal. Number 9. Dr. Light. No, not that Dr. Light, don't worry. We're talking about the second Dr. Light, the heroic Dr. Light, Kimio Hoshi. In the New Earth continuity, Dr. Light was not at all related to Arthur Light, the original Dr. Light, known for being a major villain. Instead, she was actually a hero who happened to get blasted with energy from the Vega Star when Monitor reached out to create a champion after sensing the anti-Monitor and kind of getting spooked by his destructive vibes. Monitor was like, I don't think so, gonna just shoot some star energy out and hopefully that hits someone who is gonna be a cool hero. Fingers crossed. Dr. Light is a scientist and astronomer turned into a hero who can tap into energy from the Vega Star, giving her almost unlimited power. She can use this energy to create illusions and energy constructs, blast her enemies, fly, and phase.
Up next, number 8, Moira McTaggart. Moira is not just a hot scientist, people. This was big news in the recent House of X, where it was revealed that she wasn't just a human ally and a mutant advocate. Oh no, girl is a mutant too, people, and she's impressive as Moira's mutant powers allow for her to reincarnate, in a sense. She's a mutant with limited reality warping reincarnation powers. She has perfect memory and is able to hide her true nature to mutants and mutant detection devices. So far, she's lived 10 lives, having started her life again after she died, possessing full memories of her previous lives. When she returns to being in utero, she's fully sentient. So yeah, that is pretty darn impressive. Moving on to number 7, DC's Valkyries. Moving on from Marvel over to DC for this number, let's talk about a group of bad women, the Valkyries. While notably different than the Valkyries of Marvel fame, DC's Valkyries are still rooted in Nordic legend, being armored maidens who ride winged horses from a place called Asgard. They would first appear in a DC comic all the way back in 1946 in Comic Cavalade issue 17. And have appeared since with little consistency. In the Golden Age, they appeared as Wonder Woman villains, but now on Prime Earth, they are part of the same race as the Amazons. Regardless, they have always remained immortal beings, ones with superhuman strength and quite the talent for combat. Up next, number 6, Circe from Earth 2. Another DC character at this number. Circe, specifically the Circe of Earth 2, is immortal. This version, who debuted during the Golden Age in 1949's Wonder Woman issue 37, was initially a villain for Diana prior to being defeated by her. After her defeat, she would be taken to a place called Transformation Island, located on Paradise Island, where she was taught the ways of love and discipline by the Amazonians. Circe's immortality is rooted in her magic powers. She also has the ability to command Sorkan jewelry trees using chlorokinesis, and is capable of metamorphosis with the ability to turn humans into animals. She also has a killer jawline. That's a power too, right? In at number 5, Threnody. Threnody is Melody Jacobs, a Marvel mutant who first graced their panels in 1993 in Strife's Strike File issue 1. She's a necroplasmic energy vampire, empowered by necroplasm. She's capable of sensing certain necroplasmic energies that surround an individual when they are dying or near death. To her, she's enraptured by the scent of death and the taste of the energy. Eerie, isn't it? She can also manipulate said energy to absorb the remaining life energies that a dying individual is releasing, and then can convert them into explosive plasma or temporarily reanimate someone into a zombie. In other words, don't with her. She can create hordes of zombies if the energy is in supply. Now, because of these powers, she is also immortal, able to absorb the necroplasmic energy of her own death in order to regenerate or return to life. Up next, number 4, All-Mother Storm. This version of X-Men member Storm hails from Earth 20329, also known as Marvel's steampunk god world. Yes, that is a thing. This is a universe riddled by mutant gods, who eventually an evil Charles Xavier took mental control of. In this universe, Storm is an immortal god known as the Skybreaker and is married to Thor. When she was taken over by Xavier mentally, he caused her to create a massive drought. Luckily, she wasn't under his control for too long and would offer the other X-Men the ability to become immortal, turning Emmeline Frost Summers into an immortal god with a diamond body. I wonder who her parents are. All-Mother Storm has the same powers as her 616 counterpart, but with a divine twist, seeing that she is immortal and has the ability to bestow god powers and immortality onto others. And as she puts it, she's free forever from the pain, doubt, and agony of mortal life. Moving on to number 3, Donna Troy. Donna Troy, previously known as Wonder Girl, is an Amazonian who, after some fun retconning, was created by an evil sorceress to destroy Wonder Woman. Diana would find out about this, save the day, and then shield Donna from the truth of her origin by giving her false memories of being a normal girl who was rescued and raised as an Amazonian. Ah yes, gotta love a retcon. Donna would become a founding member of the Teen Titans and has long remained a part of DC's canon despite enduring her fair share of retcons, as we mentioned multiple times at this number. She was gifted immortality thanks to her Amazonian physiology. Amazonians, fun fact, can live forever, but can be killed in combat or by accident. And if you're part of the Amazonians of Bana Migdal, well, they lost their immortality when they broke apart from the original Amazonian group. So, with Donna Troy being on our list, it's probably no surprise that our next number found her way into our top 3. In at number 2, Wonder Woman. In general, Wonder Woman is a character who has had a tough time getting killed thanks to how immensely strong and powerful she is. For the record, on Prime Earth, Diana Prince has been bestowed with divine empowerment, gifted with various powers by the gods of Olympus. She's a demigoddess with longevity that allows her to live much longer than the regular human being. But she ain't immortal. That being said, she is a character who has had multiple iterations of her created in the past that exist on other Earths that are, in fact, immortal. This is the case on Earth 2, Earth 508 aka DC Super Friends, Gal Gadot in the DC Extended Universe, a slew of negative Earths for the Dark Multiverse, many of which she's murdered in despite being immortal, and even the Wonder Woman television series starring Linda Carter. Diana in general is also one of DC's iconic trifecta, meaning she's got a decent amount of plot armor that prevents her from being killed off at the whims of DC's publishers. And hey, that counts for something, right? And finally, in our number 1 spot, Jean Grey. I mean, there's a slew of jokes that could be made here. Girl has died again, and again, and again, and again. But there's also a lot of truth to it, thanks to her being an Omega-level mutant and one of the most powerful female superheroes out there. Jean, without the Phoenix Force, is incredibly powerful, but when acting as the Phoenix Force's avatar, that power multiplies significantly. She's capable of manipulating matter and energy on a subatomic scale using her telekinesis. She's capable of resurrection, which is largely to thank for a handful of her resurrections. This makes her immortal to an extent. When she does die, she won't stay dead. Case in point, let's count those deaths and resurrections. Or at least some of them. The first happened in Uncanny X-Men issue 101 in 1975 when she first encountered the Phoenix while trying to telepathically maneuver a space shuttle with her teammates on it safely back to Earth. She crashed and seemingly died, but turns out the Phoenix Force saved her, resurrecting her in that very same issue. Once it corrupted her a little later on, she took her own life in Uncanny X-Men issue 137 in 1980. After that, Madeline Pryor, her clone, showed up, Cyclops fell for Madeline, they had a kid, and then the real Jean came back in 1985 with the reveal that the Phoenix had actually made a copy of her, and put her real body and self into an egg underwater, a Phoenix egg, in which she was reborn again and absolved of the planetary genocide that the Dark Phoenix version of her committed. Convenient. In the early 90s, Jean would be killed by a Sentinel, but then resurrected 2 issues later. Then, during Grant Morrison's run on New X-Men, he killed her off when the Phoenix Force bonded with the real her, and in order to stop her, Magneto used an electromagnetic pulse to give her a stroke, with Wolverine then stabbing her in order to save her from an agonizing death. I mean, that sounds pretty agonizing to me. She would be resurrected again in 2005 in Phoenix Endsong, in which her soul went into a dimension known as the White Hot Room and ascended to another plane of existence. So technically she was dead, but not really? From there, whether she was dead or not, she would be MIA for over a decade, eventually coming back in 2018 in a story titled Phoenix Resurrection: The Return of Jean Grey.
Number 10, Dust. To me, Dust is almost the physical embodiment of the Thanos snap, you know? Anyway, Sora Kadir, aka Dust, is a mutant whose abilities allow her to transform her body into, well, dust. She was born in Afghanistan and was sold into slavery. She displayed her powers when a slave trader tried to remove her kneecap, and she flayed him alive. Yes, she flayed him alive. Once the X-Men got knowledge of Soraya and her abilities, they went looking for her and brought her back to the Academy. Since Dust is a sand morph, she is able to reform her body into a humanoid or some sort of sand form. In this form, she's most resistant to injury and she's difficult to detect telepathically. In this sandstorm form, she's able to hurt her enemies by scouring the flesh from their bones, as well as being able to enter their lungs, hurting their opponents from the inside.
Number 9, Kitty Pryde. Kitty Pryde's powers are some of the most useful ones around. She can phase through almost anything and as such can travel into some of the most secure locations in the world without any trouble. Not only that, but she can use her phasing abilities in a fight to become completely untouchable, phasing through her opponents or even making her opponents phase momentarily only to become solid once again with something now lodged inside them. Kitty also received a power upgrade from an artifact known as the Black Vortex, which granted her more control over her powers while also increasing their strength to an extent.
Number 8. Hawk Girl. Female counterpart to the hero Hawkman, Shira Sanders first appeared in Flash Comics #1 in 1940. She has been a member of the All-Star Squadron and an associate of the Justice Society of America. Centuries ago, she was Che-Ara, princess of ancient Egypt. Her and her lover, Prince Khufu, were killed by Hathset with a knife made of an alien material, metal. Now, Khufu and Che-Ara are doomed to find one another and fall in love in every reincarnation, only for Hathset to find them and murder them again. Her powers most notably include animal empathy, she can speak to birds, and improved strength, vision, and healing, as well as a vulnerability to deja vu. She sometimes experiences visions or memories from her past lives, which is especially troublesome when it happens in the middle of combat. Number 7. Invisible Woman. Also known as Susan Storm Richards, the Invisible Girl had her big debut in Fantastic Four #1 in 1961. She has had a storied history, as the origins of the Fantastic Four have been revisited a few times. The team was given their powers when the 4 of them were mutated by cosmic rays testing an experimental starship. She later discovers new powers, including the ability to turn objects invisible and manipulate force fields. She eventually marries Dr. Reed, and they end up having a baby. She goes on superhero maternity leave, and Crystal of the Inhumans steps in, but this list has nothing to do with superhero children. She has the ability to manipulate color, create psionic force fields, and even travel through the air, projecting psionic force beneath her to create columns of energy traveling in a zigzag flight path. Sue's force fields are incredibly powerful and can even prevent telekinesis from passing through them. Fun facts about Sue: she's an expert sailor, carries a universal translator, and wears a micro-galaxy ring containing 74 inhabited worlds. Number 6. Vixen. Also known as Mary McCabe, Vixen first appeared in Action Comics in 1981. She grew up in a small village in Africa, and as a child, heard from her parents the legend of the Tantu Totem, a token that grants the wearer all the powers of the animal kingdom, if the powers are being used to protect the innocent. She eventually moves to America and begins a successful career as a fashion model, using her wealth to travel around the world. She eventually returns to Africa, stealing the totem back from her evil uncle, Mustafa Maksai. The Tantu Totem enables her to tap into the morphogenetic field of the earth, sometimes known as the Red. It is the force connecting all animal life and microorganisms in the universe, and tapping into it allows her to access incredible animal powers. She can mimic the abilities of any animal she can think of. Vixen is also a skilled athlete, boxer, and hand-to-hand fighter. One drawback of her powers: if she stays in animal form too long, she begins to become less human and more animal-like, seemingly losing control and risking giving in completely to animal behaviors. The full extent of her power over the Red is unknown, but once she cooperated with Animal Man and Tristis, and together they created an entire universe. It's rumored that Vixen will be appearing in DC's Truth and Justice in 2021. Number 5. Mera. Mera first appeared in Aquaman #11 in 1963, and she's not just the lady version of Aquaman. Mera hails from Dimension Aqua, where DC writers are sent as punishment for coming up with lame dimension names. A criminal named Liron seizes control of the kingdom, and she is banished, exiled off to the Earth dimension, where she meets Aquaman. Liron follows Mera, but working together with Aquaman, she manages to defeat him, and Mera opts to stay with Aquaman in Atlantis. She is an amphibian, possessing gills that allow underwater breathing. She has the power of hydrokinesis, allowing her to increase density of water and create water missiles from hard water. She has exceptional strength and durability, as well as telepathic communication with other aquatic peoples, but not with lesser marine life like Aquaman. No hitching a ride on a whale for Mera. Number 4. Raven. First appearing in DC Comics Presents number 26 in 1980, Raven was part of Teen Titans from the beginning. She was born a half-breed, the daughter of a human mother and a demon overlord father. Fearing for her future, Raven's mother takes her to Azarath, a peaceful reality where she's taught how to control her emotions in order to maintain control of her inherited demonic powers. When she learns that Trigon is coming to her dimension, she vows to stop him and approaches the Justice League, but they refuse her after the magical Zatanna senses her demonic parentage. Throughout her story, she has been possessed, become a spirit, and once had to find a new body. Raven has the ability to send out her soul self for spying and stuff, but it can also fight and use telekinesis. She can teleport, fly, and use psychokinesis to manipulate matter at the atomic level. She is also tele-empathetic, meaning she can feel the emotions of those around her and absorb others' pain to heal them, or heal herself through meditation. She can generate and manipulate darkness as well, usually in the form of a raven. It's been noted by her demon father Trigon that she only uses a small potential of her power, and if she released her inner demon, she could potentially reach near infinite power. Number 3, Starfire. Starfire comes from the planet Tamaran in the Vega system, where golden-skinned humanoids make up a passionate society driven more by emotion than by reason. Starfire, aka Princess Coriander, had an older sister that was the first in the line of succession, but this sister had a childhood illness that affected her abilities. She became known as Blackfire, and she fled her home after being denied her birthright, aligning herself with a fascist empire known as the Citadel. The Citadel returns and enslaves the homeworld, and eventually Starfire is forced to flee and finds her way to Earth, where she later joins the Teen Titans. Starfire can channel and project energy in the form of star bolts, and when using her abilities in full force, her eyes glow and her fiery hair appears to glow and flicker. She is super powerful, with a unique physiology allowing her to survive even in the cold vacuum of space. She can fly, absorb energy, self-sustain, and assimilate languages through touch. Number 2, Miss Martian. Also known as Megan Morse, she first appeared in Teen Titans Volume 3 in 2006. In the DC universe, there are 2 versions of Martians: green-skinned peaceful philosophers and white-skinned vicious warriors. The story is, Megan's parents sent her on a rocket to the Vega system, home of the Citadel, to escape from the Martian Civil War. But secretly, she is actually a white Martian, captured by the US government. The exact details of her origin are debatable, but she did have a brief stint with the Teen Titans, not staying for very long. Similar to the Kryptonians, Martians have a different physiology and unique abilities. Miss Martian has a whole host of powers at her disposal, including telepathy, mind control, and telekinesis. She has a variety of visions, including X-ray, infrared, and microscopic. She has the usual super strength, super speed, can phase through walls, and even turn invisible. She has a regenerative healing factor and could potentially regenerate an entire body from one severed limb. And now, number 1, Zatanna. First appearing in Hawkman number 4 in 1964, Zatanna is an incredibly powerful member of the mystical Homo Magi, a subspecies of magic-wielding humans. The daughter of a famous magician, she grew up in a small house in New York, near the infamous Arkham Asylum. She became a successful illusionist before discovering her true powers while searching for her missing father. She meets quite a few heroes on this journey and returns to her career on the stage, occasionally assisting people in need with her powers. Zatanna has such a ridiculously comprehensive list of powers, there's no way I could list them all, but check this out. First of all, she can manipulate and create magical elements, anything from fire to water to light. She also has telekinesis, teleportation, reality alteration, and every warlock's favorite, Eldritch Blast. She has the power of flight, force fields, healing, hypnosis. I could honestly go on forever. Fun facts about Zatanna: she speaks the words in reverse when she's casting a spell, and she's a vegetarian. Also, one of her ancestors is none other than Leonardo da Vinci. Number 10, Spiderling. Also known as Anna Mae Parker, she first appeared in 2015 in Spider-Man's Renew Your Vows storyline as part of the Secret Wars event. She is the daughter of Peter Parker and Mary Jane. When the multiverse is destroyed by incursions and recreated as Battleworld, she finds herself living in a domain known as the Regency. This place is dominated by Regent, an evil mastermind on a mission to eliminate all superheroes and steal their powers. Growing up, she develops spider powers of her own, causing her parents to fear that she will one day be hunted. She actually is hunted down later and kidnapped by Venom, who recently escaped from prison. The epic confrontation that follows ends with Spider-Man bringing a burning building crashing down on Venom, presumably killing him. Ooh, Daddy Spider-Man is protective. Later in life, Anna confronts the villain Mole Man on her own while her parents are busy arguing about their daughter being a superhero. The Parker trio goes on to defeat the villain together, and Peter names her Spiderling. She has the same sense of responsibility as Peter, but with Mary Jane's headstrong attitude. Number 9, Spider-Girl. First appearing in one of Marvel's What If storylines, number 7, in 1978, Betty Brant was a newly hired employee at the Daily Bugle. Attending a scientific demonstration with her colleagues, she winds up in the same lab Peter Parker is visiting with his classmates. A radioactive spider drops down and lands on Betty's hand, resulting in her being bit instead of Peter. Concerned for Betty, Peter convinces Jameson to let her take the day off, and he invites her out to dinner. Later, the two of them discover Betty has developed spider powers, and Pete inspires her to take up crime fighting so he can take some pictures and sell them to the Bugle. Jameson, of course, only uses the photos to start a smear campaign about Spider-Girl being a menace. The two later fail to stop a burglar, who goes on to kill Peter's Uncle Ben. Betty is horrified by this and resolves to abandon her identity as Spider-Girl. Number 8. She-Hulk. Jennifer Walters, aka She-Hulk, is introduced in Savage She-Hulk number 1 in 1980. As the cousin of Bruce Banner, Jennifer is shot by a mobster and then given a transfusion of Bruce Banner's blood to save her. She is later attacked a second time, and the danger activates the gamma radiation particles in her blood, causing her to transform into the Hulk. Meek and mousy in her human form, Jennifer enjoyed the newfound confidence of her Hulk form and quickly gained the same intelligence as her normal self even when transformed. She was in the first Secret Wars, temporary member of the Fantastic Four, and even joined the Avengers. Her powers include the usual gamma radiation package, strength, stamina, healing factor, and she is trained with Captain America and Gamora, and she has a law degree. Number 7. Storm. Also known as Aurora Monroe, we first meet Storm in Giant X-Men number 1 in 1975. She is a descendant of an ancient line of African priestesses who all share the same white hair, blue eyes, and magical abilities. As a child, she survived a plane crash that destroyed her home and left her with severe claustrophobia after being trapped underneath some rubble. She served with the X-Men for years, eventually becoming their leader after Cyclops' departure. In Black Panther Volume 4, Storm marries the Black Panther and becomes the Queen of Wakanda, but none of the ladies on this list are defined by their relationship to a man. Storm is classified as an Omega level mutant, wielding mystical power drawn from her ancestors. She has the psionic ability to manipulate weather, from adjusting atmospheric pressure to creating a cooling mist on a hot day. She also boasts telepathic resistance, energy vision, teleportation, and limitless magical potential thanks to her bloodline. She is also multilingual and an expert gardener. Number 6. Wonder Woman. First appearing in All-Star Comics number 8 in 1941, Wonder Woman is easily one of the most recognizable female heroes and has been around since the beginning. Also known as Princess Diana, she was born on Paradise Island, the first child ever born there. She has some classic superhero equipment, including indestructible bracelets, the lasso of truth, the royal tiara, and an invisible airplane. She is a founding member of the Justice League and has an impressive selection of powers, including superhuman strength, speed, durability, and flight. Number 5. Jean Grey. Also known as Marvel Girl, Jean Grey is one of Marvel's most complex heroes and first appeared in X-Men number 1 in 1963. She witnessed the death of a young friend at age 10 and experienced her dying friend's thoughts and emotions, the tragedy activating her latent telepathic abilities. Professor X takes her under his wing and places psychic barriers in Jean's mind to protect her while she develops her powers. Jean goes on to bond with the ancient Phoenix Force and has an epic and expansive history with some of the X-Men's most compelling storylines ever. Jean goes from telekinesis rookie to superpowered pro throughout her story arc, with powers including memory alteration, mind control, mind possession, telepathic defense, psychic healing, astral projection, force fields, and more. Number 4. Captain Marvel. First appearing in Marvel Superheroes number 13 in 1968, Carol Danvers joined the Air Force when she turned 18, quickly rising to the top of her class. After 10 years of killing it in the Air Force, she was appointed to Chief of Security for NASA. Her father was a Navy man, and her mother was a captain of the Kree Army named Mary L. Growing up, Carol was unaware that she was a human-Kree hybrid. One day, she's kidnapped and taken out to an abandoned Kree outpost, where she's knocked into a damaged Kree machine called the Psyche Magnetron during a scuffle, and the machine leaves her genetic structure forever altered. She becomes a split personality hero, experiencing blackouts during which she becomes Miss Marvel, with powers of super strength, flight, and a seventh sense, giving her premonitions. The two personalities eventually are consolidated and she becomes her true self, an incredibly powerful member of Marvel's unique roster of heroes. Her powers include superhuman stamina, reflexes, energy absorption, and even self-sustenance. She also has a healing factor that would put Wolverine to shame. She basically doesn't age and is seemingly immortal. Number 3. Supergirl. Supergirl first appeared in Action Comics number 252 in 1959 and is known on Krypton as Kara Zor-El. She was sent to Earth by her father to save her life, like Superman. In the beginning, her arrival is confusing for Superman, who can't believe his eyes when he first sees a woman flying. She is, however, one of the most powerful heroes in the world and has been a member of the Justice League and the Red Lantern Corps. Supergirl is host to some epic larger-than-life storylines and has always been a fan favorite. Her powers include enhanced vision, including infrared, microscopic, and X-ray vision, invulnerability, and all the usual superhuman stuff, and some extras including flight, sound manipulation, force fields, and genius-level intellect. It's been said that she sometimes seems more powerful than the Man of Steel himself. Number 2. Scarlet Witch. First appearing in X-Men number 4 in 1964, Wanda Maximoff was kidnapped as a child and experimented on. She once accidentally set a village on fire with her powers and was attacked by the angry villagers, one of whom called her a Scarlet Witch, and the name stuck. She was rescued from this situation by Magneto and recruited into his Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Destined to become a hero, she disagreed with Magneto's plan to kill the X-Men and eventually became an Avenger alongside Captain America and Hawkeye. She has the uncanny ability to generate hex bolts or hex spheres, manipulating energy fields to cause anything from momentum changes, molecular destabilization, force fields, or just deflecting attacks. Her hexes are especially useful in causing negative effects in the form of bad luck. Other powers include flight, teleportation, and powerful energy blasts. It's been said that Wanda is the nexus being of the Marvel Prime Universe, and it's that type of larger-than-life history that puts her near the top of this list. Okay, Nerd Squad, before we reveal our pick for number 1, take a second to smash that like button. But seriously, just click on it once. Number 1. Rogue. Also known as Anna Marie Laveau, Rogue was first seen in Avengers Annual number 10 in 1981. She was born in a hippie commune in Mississippi. Her mother died when she was young, and this led to her becoming rebellious, running away from home and earning the nickname Rogue. In her youth, she develops a relationship with a boy named Cody, but after her first kiss, her mutant powers kick in, absorbing Cody's life force from the skin-to-skin contact and leaving him in a coma. She's unable to control this power at first and resolves to always wear body-concealing clothing to prevent skin contact. She is later recruited into the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants by Mystique, and in an intense battle against the X-Men, she absorbs the abilities and memories of Miss Marvel. Eventually, she begins to suffer from having Carol Danvers' memories inside her head, and she turns to Professor X for help. Over time, she earns the trust of the other members of the X-Men and becomes a valued member of the team. Rogue has the ability to absorb superpowers and memories of pretty much any being she comes into contact with. The transfer is usually temporary, lasting an amount of time relative to the duration of the skin contact, but in some cases, her power absorption is permanent, perhaps due to absorbing Miss Marvel's unique half-Kree DNA. In any case, it's this ability to absorb the powers and abilities of other beings that lands her at the number 1 spot on our list. Number 10. Vampirella. Created in 1969, Vampirella is a sinister seductress and has always been a fan favorite and a very popular cosplay. Originally from the planet Draculon, she travels to Earth to hunt down the dark remnants of her own race. Earth's vampires originate from Dracula, who left his homeworld centuries ago and became corrupted by a demonic entity. Her origin has since been retconned and become more complicated, but that's the gist of it. A vampire-inspired superheroine taking down evil demons. She has some awesome powers, including super hearing, perfect night vision, and super senses, allowing her to discern someone's emotional state through their scent. She has a powerful healing factor and is immortal. She's hypnotic and seductive, a skilled hand-to-hand fighter, and knows her way around firearms too. Number 9. Black Canary. First appearing in Flash Comics number 86 in 1947, Black Canary is a classic vigilante superhero who fights crime alongside Green Arrow, who she is usually romantically involved with. She has been a member of Birds of Prey and the Justice League, also known as Dina Drake or Dina Lance, depending on how confusing you find the DC universe. Initially, she was portrayed as a hand-to-hand fighter without superpowers who poses as a criminal to infiltrate gangs, but now she's a master martial artist, proficient in a million fighting styles, reserving her signature move, the Canary Cry, for only the most powerful enemies. It's a super-powered sonic scream that shatters glass and can even kill. The origin of the Canary Cry power has been retconned many times, but originally it was a magical power received as a curse from a wizard. later is explained to be a metahuman ability. As of the New 52, her ability is the result of human experimentation by the leaders of Team 7. She is an expert motorcyclist, gymnast, and tactician. And fun fact about Black Canary, in 2016, DC Comics released a 3-track album called EP1 to promote her new story, in which she becomes the lead singer of a band that shares her name. You know, like the Archies. Hey gang, before I hit number 8, I need you guys to hit that like button. Thanks so much guys, it really helps us out.
Number 8. Poison Ivy. Poison Ivy is one of the most powerful women around when it comes to villains in the DC universe. While she doesn't often act as a global threat, we learned in the Everyone Loves Ivy arc that if she wanted to, she could do that. Ivy in more recent years has flirted with a path of redemption, sometimes acting as a more morally conscious villain, and other times even acting as a hero or an anti-hero. In fact, even when she took over the world, she kind of had a pretty fair reason for why she should actually rule it. After all, things go a lot more smoothly and are a lot better overall for everyone, the planet especially included, when she is in charge. However, this also means that people don't really get to have free will, so that's not so great. Obviously. Which is why people were like, look, Ivy, you can't just control the world. People gotta mess it up with their free will. Free will, you know? Number 7. Hera. Hera isn't just a woman, she's also a goddess, one of the most powerful of the female goddesses of the Greek pantheon. Hera in Wonder Woman Historia the Amazons, which tells the tale of how the Amazons came to be, is seen as the goddess who kind of like rules over all of the others. Like, not explicitly, but she definitely influences them a lot. She's the one that calls the shots. She is the one who typically commands them, and although she did not choose to aid them in creating the Amazons, she sneakily sent them some aid in her own way in the form of their to-be queen, the human woman Hippolyta, who would actually rise to become an Amazon. She is Zeus's wife, but despite her position as his partner, she's one of the few women in Greek mythology who would dare to trick him, spurn him, or even sometimes fight against him. Also, if you haven't read Wonder Woman Historia the Amazons, you should go read it. It's really pretty, it's really great. I need to get like a tattoo somewhere from issue 1, I feel like, that is from that book, because it's just so stunning. Number 6. Supergirl. Hera might be a goddess, and Supergirl, you know, doesn't have that title, but she kind of may as well have it. Supergirl is a Kryptonian known often for being Superman's cousin. In fact, originally Kara-Zor-El was his older cousin who was sent after him in order to protect him. However, she kind of got stuck in like the Earth's orbit, and her arrival on Earth was delayed. Pre her arrival, during the time when she was still in stasis, barely aging, Superman arrived on Earth and basically grew up. By the time that Kara-Zor-El did land, Kal-El had aged to be older than her. So she's older in terms of like her technical like birth date, if she had a Kryptonian like birth certificate or license, but younger in terms of her experience living and, you know, her physical appearance. I didn't talk about her powers at all, but you guys all know who Supergirl is. She is super strong. You know, Superman, he's really strong. Supergirl, also really strong. I more wanted to just talk about how she's younger, I guess, but also older. It's a weird fun thing. Number 5. Hecate. One of the most powerful women in the DC universe is Hecate, the goddess of witchcraft. While she belongs to the Greek pantheon, in truth, Hecate is a goddess who is much more powerful and older than any group of gods around. We actually learned during the Witching Hour event that she, in fact, was asked to join the Greek pantheon and actually chose to accept that offer. She represents the power of magic, and in many ways the magic of the world and possibly of the universe is tied to her. Although she can be killed, it takes a lot of power to defeat Hecate, and even after her seeming demise, as the other kind pretty much like tore her apart, her power lived on in Circe, who had plotted for a way to basically take all of Hecate's power for herself, as she was one of the 5 witch-marked. And after being the only one remaining, she basically became the sole possessor of Hecate's power. Number 4. Naomi. Naomi is probably one of the most powerful of the newer heroes that we've seen in the DC universe. Her powers are on the level of heavy hitters such as Superman. In fact, while transformed into her superhero mode, Naomi's power set is pretty similar, except for one very important and unique element of her powers. Unlike Superman, whose weakness is magic, Naomi actually bolsters and boosts magic around her. Her powers allow her to generate energy, which she can use in a few different ways, in combat, using it to blast opponents, or to give her a physical boost. Alternatively, she can use that same energy to boost magic and magical beings around her, which is pretty neat. However, as Naomi is still young, despite her potential, she's still some learning to do when it comes to her power set and how to best utilize and control it, which is the only reason why she ranks so low. I feel like Naomi with time could be somewhere right near the top of this list. She's pretty nuts. I love it. Number 3, Circe. While Hecate and Hera are both goddesses, at one point Circe is even more powerful than both of them after she takes within herself all of Hecate's power, which allows her to tap into the source of magic. Even without being able to tap into the source of magic though, Circe is known for being a fearsome and powerful witch who can easily defeat many of those who would stand against her. Circe can shapeshift, teleport, possess others, manipulate time, and is considered to be immortal. Despite her youthful appearance, Circe is actually more than 1,000 years old. Number 2, Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman, despite having to face Circe and sometimes seemingly being slightly bested by her, always ends up coming out on top in the end, at least in main continuity, and at least usually. And so for that reason, I think it makes sense that she takes one of our top spots, especially above one of her most iconic and most powerful foes. Wonder Woman in recent years has also ascended to a temporary cosmic level of godhood, on top of already being a demi-goddess as the daughter of Zeus and Hippolyta in prime continuity anyways. As a result of her origin, Wonder Woman has divine superhuman abilities, making her super fast, strong, dexterous, and durable, on top of all the other awesome stuff that she can do, like lead an army as a master tactician and communicate with animals. Wonder Woman, she can do it all. What can't she do? Number 1, Raven. Raven is one of the most powerful women in the DC universe. In fact, she is so powerful that she actually has to rein in her power in order to keep the rest of the world safe. That is why she often seems so detached. It's because her powers directly link up to her emotional responses. To get too swept up in emotion would mean a loss of control over her powers, which could potentially result in a darker side taking hold of her. We've seen what happens when this takes place, and it gives us one of Raven's most powerful forms. Although when she manages to evolve from darkness back to light, she can actually become even more powerful. As we see in the New Earth continuity, after she turns evil, attacks Starfire and Nightwing's wedding, and then later on is killed, but in dying actually becomes free of her evil demonic father Trigon's influence. With him defeated, she is free to rise again, purified of his corruption. And she gets a cool white cape, so that's bonus, you know? Who doesn't want a cool white cape? I love capes. I should be wearing a cape right now. Number 10, Big Barda. From a young age, Big Barda was trained to become a warrior. Not just any warrior either. Barda became the leader of the Female Furies, Darkseid's personal guard. Although she was originally working for the Darkseid in the comics, get it? Darkseid. She later turned things around and ended up joining the Justice League International, as well as Oracle/Batwoman's Birds of Prey. In fact, she was probably the strongest physically on the Birds of Prey team. Belonging to the New Gods race also gives her a slew of abilities, including invulnerability, super sight, super stamina, immortality, super strength, and energy manipulation, among others. Number 9, X-23. If you thought Wolverine was strong, wait till you meet his daughter / clone. More animalistic than Wolverine, X-23 was created in a lab. She is tough as nails and a survivalist above all else. Beyond the comics, we also got to see a badass live-action version of X-23 on the silver screen in Logan. Especially when playing against the much older version of Wolverine, she looks even more insanely strong. Her healing factor is speedier and she never flinches at a fight, even when faced with dangerous odds. Number 8, Hela. Hela is, as she sounds, the ruler of Hell. As Guardian Hell anyways. She's implied to be the daughter of Loki in the comics, though in the MCU her origins were changed to make her the firstborn secret daughter of Odin, who was imprisoned for being such a big lover of death and war after her dad decided it was basically time to make peace with the other realms instead. It's also believed that Hela is actually part giantess as well, which means that she is generally depicted as being quite tall and imposing, even without her awesome headpiece, or without her magical abilities. She's also an interesting villain of the Marvel Universe, as she sometimes works against Thor, and at other times actually plays the role of ally and partner to him. Hela more recently in the comics was teaming up with Thanos, whom she was trying to win the favor of, and the two of them were also kind of like an item in the comics. Number 7, She-Hulk. She-Hulk is one of the strongest there is in the Marvel Universe. She is Jennifer Walters, cousin to Bruce Banner, who found herself able to transform into a jade giantess following following an emergency blood transfusion that she received from her cousin. Jennifer specialized in criminal law and ended up being targeted as a result, shot in her driveway. Bruce managed to rig up a blood transfusion by breaking into a doctor's office. Jennifer now specializes as well in superhuman cases, often representing various heroes from the superhuman community. While she is powerful just even as a lawyer, she is also exceptionally strong as a hero in her own right. At one point she was blasted with so much gamma radiation that she was even considered to be potentially stronger than her cousin for a time. While Jen has turned gray in the past and has also become a massive green behemoth, she is now back in a more classic form, resembling her early appearances when it comes to her look as She-Hulk. Number 6. Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel is Carol Danvers. Originally, Carol Danvers worked as Chief of State for NASA. It was there that she would meet the Kree-born hero Captain Mar-Vell, who was posing as a human scientist. When she ended up being saved by Mar-Vell when the Psyche Magnetron exploded, their DNA was combined, due to Carol wishing to be like him, and she in her own right became a hero. Although we'd later learn that Carol herself was also part Kree, as her mother was actually Marielle, a Kree woman. In fact, Carol even has a Kree half-sister, L'Oreal. Carol would become Miss Marvel, a hero with super strength, durability, the ability to fly, capable of interstellar travel, and who had energy powers similar to Mar-Vell. Eventually she would take up the name of Captain Marvel in honor of her deceased mentor, the hero Mar-Vell. Number 5. Spectrum. Spectrum is probably one of the most powerful female heroes that we have over at Marvel Comics. She served as a lieutenant in the New Orleans Harbor Patrol, and while on the job came into contact with an experimental and criminal device that left her forever changed. The exposure left her with superpowers that allowed her to change form into basically any type of energy, which is pretty insane. Monica Rambeau would go on to join the Avengers and even for a short time act as the team's leader. Monica has had many different names over the years, including Captain Marvel. In fact, she took up the mantle of Captain Marvel before Carol did, but ended up surrendering it to the original Mar-Vell's son so that he could use it. And then later on, of course, Carol would end up getting it. We've also known her as Photon, but currently she goes by Spectrum. Honestly, I really like the name Spectrum. I feel like it makes sense, because it's like, you know, she's got all the energies, it's a spectrum, get it? I like it. Number 4. Storm. Storm is one of the most powerful mutants around when it comes to the world of the X-Men. She is considered an Omega level mutant, which means that of those with a similar power set, she is considered the most skilled, capable, and powerful. Storm's abilities allow her to control the weather, not just creating storms, but being a master of all different elements within the spectrum of weather. Beyond that though, Storm is also a powerful person. Aurora Monroe is an amazingly skilled and deadly fighter who you probably wouldn't even want to face even if she wasn't using her powers. Aside from that, Storm is also an inspirational and motivational leader. She recently served on Captain Kate Pryde's team of Marauders, mainly because she wanted to keep a close eye on her friend and once protege Kitty, but has now moved on to become the ruler and regent of planet Araco, formerly Mars, its own primarily mutant inhabited planet, as she should be. Storm is definitely one of those people that was like born to be like a leader and a ruler. And fun fact, Storm is also a goddess as well, so basically she's got all the things. She can do it all. Number 3. Jean Grey. Jean Grey usually takes our top spot when it comes to our most powerful lists, but I think on a list like this, spot 3 isn't too bad. Typically her power gains respect amongst comic book fans because she is considered the host of the Phoenix Force. Although it should be noted that right now in the comics, Jean is not Phoenix. Maya Lopez, aka Echo, is. Jean Grey, however, is still one of the most iconic heroes to have been bonded with the Phoenix Force. She has both been a powerful force of good and a force of evil when merged with it, either being known as Phoenix or Dark Phoenix. Even without the Phoenix Force though, Jean is considered to be an Omega level mutant in regards to her telepathic skills, and an extremely capable and gifted telekinetic as well, possibly one of the most powerful psionic mutants on the planet Earth, and perhaps even within the universe or the multiverse. Number 2. Nemesis. Nemesis is a pretty cool and niche character who has only made a few appearances in the comics. She was said to have been the first being in all of existence. She made the first beings out of a piece of herself, but finding them kinda evil and pretty much displeased with them, she decided to destroy them. Choosing to end her existence due to her loneliness, Nemesis ceased to be, using her own self to create both reality and the Infinity Gems. She came back into being once more when the gems were brought together again. They merged along with Loki the Trickster God and Circe of the Eternals, who both had brought the final gems together to recreate Nemesis. Number 1. Lady Death. Lady Death is one of the most powerful forces in all of Marvel. I mean, what could be more powerful than that which comes for all of us? The inevitable death. Lady Death is the physical embodiment of death, and indeed she represents that area of the cycle of life. As Death, she basically rules over all living things, which in turn will die. Lady Death in the comics is known for being the love interest of Thanos, who apparently does a whole lot of killing just to try and turn her head, hoping to win her favor. But there are also others out there who idolize Death as well, such as Deadpool, who even at one point was considered so beloved by her that Thanos cursed him so that Wade could never die, thereby preventing him from ever getting to be with Death. Sad.
Starting us off in at number 10, Hope Summers. Hope is the adoptive daughter of Cable, a character who first debuted in 2007 in X-Men issue 205. She was the first mutant born after the events of House of M and Decimation. Now because of this, she had a big old target on her little baby back, because she was a baby then, with Cable saving her, claiming that she was a messiah destined to save both mutant and humankind. Now Hope is capable of something called superpower manipulation. This means she can mimic other powers, activate the powers of others, and enhance powers. Plus, she's an Omega level mutant to boot. She got a major power upgrade during the Avengers vs. X-Men story arc when the character was bonded with the Phoenix Force, which gave her immortality. Up next, number 9, Mistress Love. Let's move on to a Marvel character cut from a very different cloth, a god. We're talking about Mistress Love, who debuted back in 1982's Defenders issue 107. The character is the physical embodiment of love, much like how Mistress Death is the physical embodiment of death. While we've never seen the full extent of her powers, this abstract entity is one of the universe's most powerful, and she can control emotions related to love with any being, even on a universal scale. Her powers are said to be stronger than Galactus or Odin, but not as strong as Eternity or Infinity. Also, fun fact, her gender and appearance are mutable, meaning she can also be depicted as a man. She often reflects the desires of those who see her.
Number 8. Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel. Introduced to the MCU, Carol Danvers was set up to be the strongest Avenger yet. And while this is debatable, one cannot deny the strength of Captain Marvel, formerly known in the comics as Miss Marvel. Carol has flight capabilities, super strength, can fire photonic blasts, and comes with a no-nonsense attitude. I would even argue she is presented as having a more militaristic mindset than Cap at times. In the past few years, the comics have uplifted her character, promoting her from Miss to Captain, and allowing her to earn that title, easily defeating one of her arch nemesis, Jan Rog, after being reintroduced. A man who she has struggled to defeat in the past and has tortured her for most of her life. Oh yeah, and she manages to do it with a tumor rapidly growing inside her brain. Wow.
I've been fighting with one arm tied behind my back. But what happens when I'm finally set free?
Number 7. She-Hulk. Not only is She-Hulk, cousin of Bruce Banner, strong, but she is brave and intelligent. Jennifer Walters was not the most confident person until she got caught in the crossfire of some bullets that were meant for Bruce and had to receive an emergency blood transfusion from him. His blood coursing through her veins, Jennifer underwent a transformation and became the bold and confident She-Hulk. Although she only received a portion of the strength that the Hulk has, she has a uniqueness to her that none of the other Hulks have. Her strength never leaves her, it carries over, it's consistent. Not only this, but Jennifer has an emotional influence over the Hulk, often being called in to calm down the Hulk when he is too riled up to calm himself down. Number 6. Zatanna. If the powers of magic are limitless, then so must be this superhero's strength level. Zatanna may not be the most buff of the ladies on this list, but she is definitely one of the strongest when it comes to ability. Not only is she a skilled stage magician, but also a skilled real-world magician, coming from a long, strong bloodline of magics. Her powers are on another level. She can travel through dimensions, is a skilled hypnotist, can transmute atoms, teleport, and has telepathic abilities. She's one of Batman's oldest friends and often helps out the Justice League. In fact, she was even once referred to as the strongest member of the Justice League. You could argue that she is just as strong, if not stronger, than Marvel's Doctor Strange. Many fans would like to imagine that Zatanna herself would make an even better Sorcerer Supreme. Number 5. Emma Frost. Speaking on telepathic abilities, Emma Frost is one strong telepath that also comes to mind. What can I say? I'm a sucker for a strong telepath, and I think it is one of the strongest superpowers around. Emma Frost has even used her abilities to cure mutants of their lack of control over their powers, famously helping Scott Summers, aka Cyclops, to control his optic blasts. And telepathic powers aside, she is also one of the actual strongest superheroes in the sense that she she can turn herself into Diamond, known for being a super tough substance and able to withstand tons of pressure. So she is not only mentally strong, but physically strong as well.
Shoot on sight!
Number 4. Jean Grey. Of course, when Jean Grey is alive and well, wait, how many times has she died now? And how many times has she been resurrected? Anyways, when Jean is alive and well, she's an even stronger telepath than Emma Frost. And when teamed up with the Phoenix Force, she's even stronger and more deadly. Although she is not physically strong, Jean is also super skilled at telekinesis. And who needs super strength when you can lift almost anything with your mind? Jean could use that trick to make herself look insanely strong. Many have compared her to Charles Xavier, and many have argued that Jean is stronger, though she does sometimes struggle to access and control her full potential, which is perhaps where Professor X surpasses her. If you follow the X-Men films, they would even have us believe that Jean can defeat Apocalypse, simply by shouting. Number 3. Wonder Woman. Strong, smart, and funny? The Wonder Woman film starring Gal Gadot has shown us just how powerful Wonder Woman is, not just as a superhero, but as an icon. When people think of female strength, Diana Prince is one of the first characters that comes to mind, whether or not you are a comic book geek. Why? Well, for good reason. Wonder Woman not only has an iconic look, but beyond that, she was one of the first female superheroes ever to be introduced in the comic book world. She grew out of her jobs, first as a nurse, then as a secretary, and eventually became a founding member of the Justice League, and their first female member. She is known for her wit, strength, lasso of truth, demigoddess status, and Amazonian heritage. And let's not forget that with Wonder Woman, we also potentially get an army of insanely strong Amazonian warriors.
Zeus! Zeus!
Number 2. Supergirl. Being related to one of the strongest superheroes grants you some pretty impressive strength. To prove that point, we have Supergirl soaring in on this list. Kara Zor-El is Superman's cousin who survived the destruction of Krypton, who shares an arch nemesis with her cousin, Lex Luthor. While on Earth, the relationship she builds with Superman becomes that of sort of a younger sister, and she goes by the name Linda. Although her story has been changed and rewritten a few times in DC's new 52 reboot. Regardless, the Supergirl we knew for years had abilities that echoed that of her cousin, making her one of the strongest female superheroes to grace the pages of any comic book. We're talking super speed, super strength, flight, invulnerability, and the famous heat vision. And while Superman and Batman have always been known for their famous friendship and bond, we will also now get to see this translate to Supergirl as well with the DCCW universe's introduction of Batwoman. Number 1. Scarlet Witch. Of course, I couldn't make a most powerful list without putting Scarlet Witch at the top of it. You just can't deny the sheer awesome power that is Scarlet Witch. I mean, when you can alter reality, anything is possible. Scarlet Witch, who has since been retconned, was once known in the comics as Magneto's daughter, making her almost mutant royalty. But regardless of her ever-changing backstory, she stands alone without any needed context as one of the strongest superheroes of all time, regardless of gender. Being skilled in the arcane arts, her ability to manipulate chaos magic makes her almost unstoppable when she wants to be. In fact, her abilities to warp reality are considered to be so strong that it's hard for us to even know if any of her other powers actually exist, or if she is simply warping reality to make them appear to exist. With Wanda, aka Scarlet Witch, almost everything that happens in the comics could be questionable as to whether or not they happen because she wills it, or they just actually are events that are happening. This is, after all, the woman who willed the Phoenix Force out of existence.
Coming in at number 10, Jessica Jones. Since her debut in Marvel's Alias #1, Jessica Jones has had a storied history and is one of Marvel's darker heroes. She obtained her powers in a car crash when her vehicle collided with a military convoy carrying radioactive chemicals. The experience killed her family but left her with superhuman strength and durability. She has gone by different names throughout her story arc, once known as Jewel and another time known as Nitrous. She is a skilled hand-to-hand fighter and a talented private investigator. Her powers include accelerated healing, flight, and even telepathic resistance due to her experiences with the Purple Man and some help from Jean Grey. Jessica is a fighter and is more powerful than she looks. Number 9. Black Widow. We meet Black Widow first in Tales of Suspense number 52 in 1964, where she meets Iron Man and inadvertently helps him defeat some Soviet agents. Formerly a KGB agent, she was trained by the Red Room, part of the Black Widow Ops program, in an effort to create the ultimate super spy. She eventually defects to America and later joins the Avengers. With a history over 50 years long, Black Widow's powers vary from story to story, but some of her most impressive powers include peak human strength, speed, and endurance. She is a master martial artist, weapons expert, disguise expert, talented hacker. Honestly, I could go on and on, but you get the idea. She's a super spy.
Number 8. Magic. Illyana Rasputin, aka Magic, is the younger sister of Colossus, and she's got a pretty long list of abilities. She's able to teleport, she can levitate, she has the power of necromancy, she can absorb souls, she's a master swordsman, she possesses a soul sword, and she can astral project. She's got a large skill set, as you can tell. Illyana was trapped in Limbo after being kidnapped by Belasco. During her time in Limbo, this dimension's version of Storm taught Illyana how to use spells and magic, and the cat is the one who taught her how to be a master swordsman that she is today. She also learned dark magic from Chthon, and he's like one of the most powerful demons in the Marvel Universe, so you know she got a good education from him. In a way. At one point, Illyana was even able to extract a piece of her soul to create the Soul Sword, and she used this to take over Limbo. She then returned to Earth and later learned that she was able to cover her body in Eldritch armor when she summons the Soul Sword. So not only is she a powerful sorcerer, but she also has magical armor to boot.
Number 7. Selene. Selene is known for being a powerful energy vampire and is something we don't really talk often enough about on this channel. She was originally known in the comics for being the Black Queen of the Hellfire Club and is an ancient immortal. So how does she stay looking so young? By feeding on the psychic energy of others. But Selene isn't just a vampire, she is also known for her telepathic and telekinetic skills. She has also been shown to demonstrate other powers over the years, like pyrokinesis, and has dabbled in magic as well. Not only that, but the energy she consumes can also be used to reinforce her physical strength and speed.
Number 6. Hope Summers. Basically, Hope Summers is mutant Jesus. Hope was the first mutant born after the Decimation, the event where Scarlet Witch wiped out all but 198 mutants. When Hope was born, there was a hunt for her. Some believed that she was the mutant messiah, and others believed that she was some sort of antichrist. It was discovered that Hope had the ability to enhance, activate, and mimic the powers of others, and these powers came in handy when she was trusted with the task of going to look for other mutants that they called lights. When finding these other mutants, Hope was able to calm them, stabilize their powers, and even awaken their abilities. On top of all this, it was also revealed that Hope was the new Phoenix, but this force was so unstable and unpredictable, Hope and Scarlet Witch joined forces, said no more Phoenix, and the Phoenix force just dispersed around the world, giving birth to new mutants and restoring the mutant population. So not only is Hope able to influence the X genes of the lights, she was also strong enough to become the new host of the Phoenix Force, and then have the power to disperse it around the globe. She's OP. That's just my take on it. She's OP.
Number 5. Emma Frost. On the flip side of the coin from Selene, who we talked about earlier, we have Emma Frost, the White Queen. Emma is also known for being a very powerful telepath, and while she might not be as versatile as Selene, she doesn't need to feed on psychic energy like Selene does. Emma Frost is often referred to as the White Queen from her time as being a part of the Hellfire Club as well. She was the White Queen. See what I'm saying? Emma started out originally as a villain in the comics but didn't stay one for long, eventually reforming and even joining the X-Men team. She is an adept teacher and leader in addition to her powers. She's not only an immensely skilled telepath, but also possesses her diamond form, which makes her almost indestructible in battle. Almost.
Number 4. Rogue. Rogue is the adopted daughter of Mystique, so you already know that if Mystique likes her, there's gotta be something special about her. We covered this in our last collab together, but Mystique isn't really the best mom, so for her to willingly take on the responsibility of being a mom, it's gotta be for a good reason. She's given away too many kids already. Rogue is another super powerful mutant. She has the ability to absorb the life forces, abilities, personality, and other physical characteristics of others through touch. She also had superhuman strength during the period of time that she had absorbed Carol Danvers' powers and personality within her. Now just think about how OP that is. Not only does Rogue have the ability to take the powers of others, but in certain scenarios she's also able to tap into the stolen abilities and use them against her opponent. This happened a lot while she had Carol Danvers still inside her, because not only was she able to tap into her abilities, but Carol was also able to take over Rogue's body in a way when Rogue was unconscious or under a lot of stress. So that's pretty powerful if you ask me. Also, a little side fact for you. Mystique would have actually been Rogue's biological mom if the character's creator Chris Claremont hadn't left Marvel in 1991. So there you go.
Number 3. Storm. Storm is referred to as a goddess for a good reason. She is a mighty hero who wields influential power over the elements. While this doesn't seem to be a power that Thor often reaches for in the comics, despite also possessing that, Storm does not shy away from using her mutant gifts against her enemy. When fighting Storm, you'll want to watch out, as it is easy for her to call down a bolt of lightning to strike you at any point. As a child, she also possessed a fear of small spaces, known as claustrophobia. In the past, when this fear has been evoked, like when Doom encased her in a form-fitting metal shell, Storm has also been shown to tap into the full potential of her powers, creating storms massive enough to envelop the whole planet. Number 2. Rachel Summers. One of the most powerful and often underrated mutants of all is Rachel Summers. Rachel is the daughter of Scott Summers and Jean Grey from an alternate timeline. She was born with a small part of the Phoenix within her. Instead of her mother perishing after the X-Men's clash with the Shi'ar, Jean lived and married Scott. Together they had Rachel, and because this version of Jean was still bonded with the Phoenix Force at the time, a part of the cosmic entity lives on in Rachel. Aside from her connection to the Phoenix Force, which grants her awesome powers, enhancing both her telekinetic and telepathic powers as well, Rachel also possesses the ability of time manipulation. Her time manipulation powers are complex and can be useful in a variety of ways, such as when we see her use them in 2020's X Factor in issue 1, to chrono-skip through the time of an object belonging to North Star's sister, Aurora, in order to track her down and investigate her death.
Number 1. Jean Grey. Jean Grey is probably one of the most, or even the most, powerful mutants, simply because of her ability to control the Phoenix Force. Going from being X-Men's weakest member to being its strongest, Marvel Girl died, and like a phoenix was reborn as well, Phoenix. In the Uncanny X-Men issues 101 to 108, also known as the Phoenix Saga, we watched as Jean became the powerful mutant Phoenix, and then in Uncanny X-Men 129 to 138, we saw her evolve into Dark Phoenix. The Phoenix Force is the sum of all life in the universe, and it takes hosts through time, so this thing is already pretty damn powerful. But things get cranked up a few notches when Phoenix is corrupted by evil, taking on the new Dark Phoenix persona. In this state, she consumes a star and 5 billion people on a nearby planet. Now if that doesn't scream all-powerful being, then I don't know, man. Ultimately, Jean's personality, buried way down there, manages to take control, and the Phoenix ends up dying by suicide. Again, even when she's not technically the all-powerful Phoenix, Jean's personality was strong enough to sort of take down the Phoenix from the inside. Also, after her death, she was in the white hot room. Death told Jean that because her spirit was most closely carved from the Phoenix, that she was destined to take on the Phoenix Force. Obviously, it takes a very strong person to be considered a perfect fit for the Phoenix.